All right, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to another edition of Shooting the Breeze with me and my partner.
Josh, what's up, Richie Rich?
What's going on, brother? How are you?
Oh, doing all right. Doing all right. Got some news today that I'm going to talk about tonight that kind of upended my world for right now.
Okay.
But we'll get to that in a little bit.
All right. Yeah, that's obviously good news. I know I know what you're going to be talking about, but we are going to be getting into a little bit of my vacation in California. But for the most part, I guess it's going to parlay into a little bit what we want to talk about. We want to talk about music. In California, there's a lot of really great places out there, like monumental places where musical bands used to hang out, bands used to get drunk here, bands first played here. It's all sorts of crazy stuff there. But before we get into that, we're going with our with our motif, whatever you want to say. We have an interview coming up this week.
Yes, well, another one. So far, we've had two. Both we're excited about.
Yeah,
both went really well.
Yes,
and this one is with a very close friend of mine who is, before I knew it, when I was just friends with him, he's a rock star. I didn't know it. I'm going to tell the story the first time I ever saw him. I don't think he knows this story, but yeah, bona fide rock star. Played with many, many bands, toured in the 90s all over the U.S. Recently, with another band he's in, he toured over in different countries, Australia and that. But Pat Gasperini, on Facebook, he's Pasquale Gasperini.
Okay. And me, I mean, I know you know him, and me, I met him once. I think we hung out one night, and that was a long time ago. My wife was just talking about him, but I probably have a million questions for him, as far as just being a rock star and just in general, And I was looking him up a little bit, and that gentleman that passed recently,
John Regan,
and just going over my notes and stuff for our interview. I'm like, that guy, he was a big deal, that guy.
And another guy, I met him through Pat, hung out with him. The most underassuming guy that you would know that's played with the biggest names in music. Like, you meet John, he is the most humble guy, the nicest guy. And it probably was the fourth or fifth time I was with him that Pat finally explained to me, like, he's played with Kiss. He's been with Peter Frampton. He's been with all these big names. And talking to him and hanging out with him, he is just an average Joe, a normal guy. I never knew what he actually did with music and playing bass and all that. Phenomenal guy. And Pat will talk about him because I know that's the one guy that helped Pat through everything when he was starting out. And John's been on quite a few records and songs with him. So
yeah, it's really interesting. So I was reading the bio on him, and it's funny. It's a funny story. Maybe I'll bring it up with him, but if we get too deep into it, but it says that guy John Regan, his bio, that he met Ace Frehley, and he was a member of Frehley's Comet and everything, and we all know Frehley's Comet. But he told the story about how he met Ace Frehley, and he met Ace Frehley in a bar in White Plains in the 80s. Now, what's funny about that is, let's go back to 1981, 82. Richie and his best friend Raybo, who's since passed, but we're 11 years old, and he would tell me that he has got a rock star living downstairs from his grandmother in the condos in Tarrytown. And sure as shit, it was Ace Frehley. He lived underneath the condos are set up. His grandmother lived in his condo complex. I think it's the one right on the water there. But he would always say that Ace Frehley lived downstairs. I think we saw him once because we kind of look and be like, oh my God, look, it's him. But yeah, because we were into that music at the time, man. We were like, Iron Maiden and shit like that, and Kiss. And he was like, wow. And it makes sense. But he met him in the 80s in a bar in White Plains. And wow, that kind of that sparked up a memory for me, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, and one of the first times I met John was at the Chance. Ace Frehley came up with his band, and John played with them.
Okay.
And then Pat was playing before that, and we were backstage. There was a back bar in the Chance, and we were just back there with Pat's band, and then John came in, then Ace came in, and they started to kick everyone out because now it was the meet and greet with Ace Frehley.
Okay.
And Pat was like, no, you guys don't have to go. Just sit over there.
Yeah.
So we sat there while Ace came in, the nicest guy also. But the funny part is we're watching him, and Shannon, my wife, she thought the one guitarist was Ace Frehley the entire time. And then he came in, and Shannon's like, that's not Ace Frehley. And Pat's like, yeah, it is. She goes, oh, my God, I was looking at the guitarist the whole time.
Oh, my God, that's funny. But it's funny, and now we're going to interview this guy. And I remember I was saying to you on the phone this afternoon about some of these guys that are I guess they call them hired guns, because they have these documentaries out on Netflix. Like there's one about drummers and guitar players, and you always hear about like these, like Ozzy Osbourne or like the guys that are the big front men of these bands speak so eloquently about these guys that are their hired guns, like guys that come in like say like way back in the day in the '70s, like Randy Rhoads had like the flu or something like that, and he couldn't go on. He'd get this guy to come in and fill in for him. But it seems to be like these guys were a bunch of guys that kind of like were parts of these bands that were very successful, and they were very talented musicians, and they kind of like not sought each other out, but kind of like ran into each other by chance, and like they just became a band. And I guess when you become like a hired gun like that, it's like I said to you this afternoon, like you could be Keith Richards and be the play guitar for the Rolling Stones, playing Rolling Stones songs for 50 years. Can you jump into Korn and do their riffs? Right. Or can you jump into like I think a guy like that, getting together, they could go to a band and they could get together and say, all right, let's do a rock band today. Let's do like a folk band. Or that's why I think that they get there. I think they might be better musicians than some of these guys that are the most talented musicians, right. I think,
Right. I've seen some interviews with like David Grohl was talking about how people call him a very good drummer. And he's like, I'm not. He goes, if you listen to Nirvana's first album, he goes, all my beats were from the 70s, not jazz, but he goes, listen to it. And one guy was like, all right, let me play it. And he was like, it's the same exact. He goes, I stole the beats. He goes, I'm not a great drummer. People think I am because I played in Nirvana. I'm in Foo Fighters. He goes, but to start off, he goes, I just stole people's riffs as I was playing.
Yeah. But listen, when you got to have, like, Dave Grohl's one of the most talented drummers, I think, ever. I mean, you know what I mean? But my buddy, Timmy, is a drummer. And my buddy I work with for so long. And he always he's, when people are good at an instrument, they just have an ear for things. Like, I even see just the way sometimes like a nervous tick, sometimes maybe if he's tapping. It's like, it's like a drummer, but like it goes with, like I was saying to my niece yesterday, we were up at Marywood University. That's an art college. Now, it's all different types of arts, advertising, it's, painting, it's everything. But they had this art show and, they got to display some of their works of art. Now, what I was thinking through that and through music, if you could draw a picture or you could play a guitar, but like if you excel, like you have something, there's got to be something in your brain that makes you a genius, and you could just see it differently than everybody else.
Yeah, and that's one thing I don't have. I can't draw nor play music.
Yeah,
it's something that just like that's what I want to get in with Pat. Like not only is he one hell of a guitarist, but he sings, but he's also a songwriter. And I said I want to see him sit down because to write lyrics is one thing, but then to hear the music in your head and get that to match the lyrics, like how do they do that?
I don't even know. Wait, hold on. Our technical guy has signed on real briefly. And Ben, can you type in, please, and let us know how the audio is, please, sir? Ben's always going to be there.
Technical guy.
Is it this guy right here that's listening onto this show right now? Ben. Let's see. Sounds good. Ben is always going to be there. I'm telling you right now, we're taking him with us wherever we go.
All right.
And I tell you, his father better look out. It's like Ben's going to take his spot.
Well, B comes before E does, so B Dubs will come before E Dubs.
Oh, chill out, E. Your job's safe. Your job's safe, brother. But Ben, you are pretty damn good. Thanks a lot, kid. I appreciate it. Well, anyway, back to music. So yeah, I mean, and I'm really, really pumped to talk to him. And listen, we want to hear the stories,
yes.
But I mostly want to hear about like guys that he met, like, guys he played with and people that he respects. And like, that's the kind of shit I want to know about this guy. Like, because he's a genius in my eyes. Like, look at the music he makes.
Well, that's the thing. Like he plays in his band now, Patrick James Band. But right before that, he was playing, he was doing both, but he was with 4x8, which had Todd Howarth from Fraley's Common.
Yeah.
Rob Afuso, who was a drummer from Skid Row.
Yep.
And John Regan.
Right.
What do they call it? Like the suit, like when the bands get together, like Pearl Jam's guy and the guy from.
Oh yeah, like
super band. Yeah, it kind of was like a super
like
band.
Temple of the Dog.
Yes, exactly. And they went Australia. They went all over the country touring. Yeah. And rock is bigger over in other countries now more than it is here now.
Right. You want to, that's it's funny you mention that. It's funny you mention when you think of a type of music that you wouldn't think would be popular in another country, but you find that it's super popular. I'm switch gears with the genre of music, but that kid Tekashi 6ix9ine?
Yes.
He's a jerk. He's an idiot. But dude, his life fascinates me for some reason. And I don't understand what it is about him. So I watch documentaries on him. And I don't understand. I don't like the kid. The kid's a rat. But it is what it is. But I'm fascinated by his life because of what he does and how he lives it. Like when all that shit went down with him, and he ratted out, and I'm surprised he's not dead, but he found a niche when he got out with these Swedish guys out in Sweden, a Swedish like hardcore band like out in Sweden, where what they would do is they'd play all his music, and like they kept his like Instagram stuff going while he was away in jail and this, that, and the other thing. And they invited him to go out to I think it's Sweden. Yeah, Sweden or Denmark, one of those up there. And then he went out there, and then that's when he started to get back on Instagram. These guys kickstarted his career again, dude. They were doing all of his songs, and then they got him to come out there to perform for like 6 or 7 months, and then kickstarted his career again because of some obscure group of kids in Sweden that were listening to his music.
Because the genre he was in over here, he was kind of dead in their eyes because of what he did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He ratted someone out, and that.
But you know what it is, though? If you think about that, I'm going off on this a little bit for a second because I think it's pretty important because they're saying what these old school guys are saying right now is you never snitch. And now the thing is, I listen to a lot of these old school rappers talking about him, calling him all sorts of names, and they said, and I forgot who it was. I forgot what rapper it was. One of these guys is like, listen, that kid's a snitch. And you know what's even worse off now? He's telling all these young guys that that's okay. And that's even worse.
Yep.
It's like, what's going on? Because listen, we want to set good examples for our kids to just be good kids.
Right.
These rappers got examples to set too. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying though is like, it's doubly bad because now the kids are like, I can go do whatever I want, but I'll just snitch.
Right.
Then even running around a nation of snitches and bitches.
But then they're going to end up over in Denmark or Sweden.
Yeah.
But the guy's still making money.
Dude.
Still make hand over fist.
Again, I don't. Guy's music, it is what it is, but his life is fascinating for that simple reason. Like he just bounces right back on his feet. He's running around dressed in a suit of $100 bills.
Yep.
But you know what he does too? I don't know if this is good or bad. Think about he went over to Mexico and he just stopped off the side of the road in one of these like real shit hut neighborhoods. He started like passing out cash to all these like dirt poor people. Now that could either go one of two ways. Those people are very happy, but then there's like the families down the road are like, all right, standing up because they, But anyway, the kid just throws money around to these poor people, man. Like,
which is good. He's giving what he has.
Watch this documentary on him.
I just don't care for the kid.
Josh, you'll sit there like, I can't believe what I'm watching right
now. I'm stuck on that Making a Murderer anyhow.
You haven't watched that yet?
I'm on season 2. I didn't know season 2 was out, but I'm back into it, and I still don't know how those two aren't out. Well, that'll be another episode because
very disappointed when I watched season 2.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
About the first one. Yeah, no, you're right. We could talk about that. But we're here to talk about music, Josh.
Yes, we are. And like we spoke about one of the first episodes, how you were raised in Queens, I was raised in PA, 2 totally different areas. And I think we have 2 totally different music likings. I like a lot. I like all different music. Right. But you are a Wu-Tang. Would that be your number one band, artist, whatever?
Now, excuse me. I'm big. Me and my son Aiden, and I know we talk about it too. I want to come up with this top 10. Maybe we'll go over one of our songs and maybe not top 10 through this podcast. But I really do think that I'm going through greatest bands of all time, and people are gonna kill me for saying this, but I really do think you can make an argument that the Wu-Tang Clan is one of the top 5 bands of all time. And I'm not just saying hip hop artists. I'm saying bands, but group of guys that were successful at what they did and changed music, changed hip hop, changed what they talked about.
No, I just like movies. I couldn't tell you one Wu-Tang song.
Dude. Yeah.
Not one.
I don't know. You never heard Method Man, Protect Your Neck? I don't know.
I know Method Man.
Right.
I know someone, was Redman on there also?
Well, Redman's his own guy, but he got together with Method Man later on.
That was after?
Redman's fantastic too, but Redman was always his own.
Was there Ghostface Killer or something?
He was part of the Wu-Tang Clan, Raekwon the Chef, Jizza, all of those guys. But to watch them and be so into that music at the time, you're talking early 90s. Now we could go back to a dynamic of, remember I said to you a couple of weeks ago when you ask somebody, it's kind of like one of those questions that you ask people when you don't only fishing for information. Like I say, I like to ask people what type of music they listen to. Just as a random question in passing. And their answer says a lot to me, because if you talk to a guy and says to me, he's like, yeah, I only listen to country music and Kid Rock. It's like, don't you like anything else? What about classical music? No, I don't like all that other stuff is shit. You talk to a guy who's got one closed-minded guy. But if you talk to you and me and all my friends and stuff, I have such a vast, array of music. And because music not only changes minds, music like is so powerful. So I think it's very important for people to, to listen to a different type of music. Have your hip hop and like have your rock and have your grunge and have your oldies and have your 20s and 30s and like know your history of when music started or when the piano first was played or who thought of playing the drum. Like know your history of music, because before you turn around and say a genre of music sucks, think about all the ideas that you've had in your life that suck. These people, even if they're trying something new, they're trying. Like, they're trying to create something.
But like people that say rap or R&B, most people don't say R&B, but rap is horrible, sucks. No, there's very good rap artists, and there's just like there's some great metal, there's some shitty rap artists, but I listen to all of it. Like I didn't grow up listening to country. I grew up in the country, right. Never listened to it. I was more of whatever's on the radio at the time.
Right.
And then but back then there was Metallica on the radio, Def Leppard on the radio,
yeah,
Kiss on, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
You had Belinda Carlisle, and then right after that you could hear Metallica. Nowadays with this satellite radio, you kind of get stuck in one type of music.
Right.
Like I just listen to the country station.
Right.
I can't stand the top hits one because I don't like the new pop or popular music, because to me it all sounds the same. It's not great.
Like I don't know what's kind of going on with music right now, and it's a cycle. It's a progression, because you always know that let's go back to our grandparents. Okay, if our grandparents were like whatever dances they were doing, like or keep your shirts on, or don't go to a dance with the dress above your knees, like that kind of shit like that. But then you slowly progress to the types of music. And then you go into like, that's the devil's music and this, that, and you hear these things from your parents as you're growing up. It's like, how you listen to that rap crap, or how you listen to that headbanger heavy metal shit. But I don't know, like maybe it's just me thinking. I just really do think that these new artists, they're trying really hard. I do understand that, but there's nothing creative, I don't think, coming out. Like I really don't even think. I do find that I think that is the reason why bands like Mick Jagger at 150 years old and Keith Richards is still going out there and pumping out concerts when they can, because if they could pump out 10 shows and pump and sell out a year's worth of concerts, and for 2 weeks they get the flu or something or COVID and they're fucking tired, they could sit back and just take off 2 weeks and still rake in money, because you know what? There's nothing better than them right now, even at 80 years old.
Right, like we were telling Jack and Matt about we make them listen to certain songs like American Pie and stuff like that. And we're like, you'll hear that in a bar. You'll hear this in a bar. You'll hear this years from now. What music now is going to last 30 years? Even look, Metallica, I think, just came out with another record.
Right.
What band or singer is going to be here 30 years from now?
Now, you know what? That's you bring up a good point about Metallica, because Metallica is a perfect example of somebody that would that's been relevant for so long. But they did try to get into that genre of after the Black Album, where let's try to make some new music.
They tried to fit into the times a little bit more.
Right.
And a lot of people that loved them in the 80s and 90s hated them for that. But you can't hate them for trying to be relevant and not die out.
Right. Because you hate, you can't hate on them for trying to go forward, but you can hate on them if they continue to say and not talk about their old music. Like,
right.
I'm not playing Enter Sandman, or I'm not playing Creeping Death or Master of Puppets. Oh, that's great shit, man. Master of Puppets might be one of the greatest albums ever created.
Well, I saw interview where Billy Joel says there's times where he hates in a concert where he has to play Piano Man. He goes, because it's been every concert since it came out, he's had to play it. But that's the song everyone wants to hear, but he is so sick and tired of it. He plays it, but he wishes he didn't have to play it.
See, I heard the exact opposite interview of a guy who gets it and has always gotten it, is Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy Buffett has been playing the same playlist for 40 years. And you know what Jimmy Buffett does every summer? Sells out everywhere he goes.
That's what people want to hear.
People don't want to hear Jimmy Buffett's new, ukulele song while he's sitting in Alabama. Right. And he knows that. People want to hear Cheeseburger in Paradise, Frankie and Lola, Tin Cup Chalice. They want to hear those songs, man. He gets it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm surprised that Billy Joel said that because you're right, Billy. But he has that residency in Madison Square Garden. He plays those songs all the time,
Yep.
all the
Yep.
time.
Now, your California vacation made me think of something.
Okay.
Back in 1997, I drove across country to LA to do an internship at LA Fitness for the summer.
LA Fitness.
And California, that trip made me think of two bands because I listened to the same two CDs the whole way out, and you're going to laugh.
Okay.
You will never guess. Think of mid-90s.
Okay. I was all into music at that time.
But not this one. Okay. No Doubt with Gwen Stefani.
I saw them live like twice in like 94. Yeah.
Now, I guarantee you did not see these ones. And I'm somewhat embarrassed, but it was the time and I was going to L.A. Hanson.
Whoa. Just live and I'm not editing. I'm not editing, so just so you know that. Wow, dude, you went to see Hanson?
I didn't see them. I listened to them on the way out in my car.
Oh, why?
There's
so much other stuff to listen to in the 90s.
We listened to other stuff
CDs,
too.
And you had the book.
But it made me... Hanson is California, though.
Wait a second.
And that's what made me think of it.
You didn't have the book of CDs driving
I had the book of
California?
CDs. All right, I also listened to Blues Traveler.
Awesome.
You know what I'm saying? There was other... I can't even think of other ones, but we had Blues Traveler. No Doubt was the big one. Alanis Morissette was another one we listened to.
Now, you bring up a very interesting point in time in music. That's to me is one of the most interesting times of a transition of music, I think, maybe ever. Because I think the transition from like the 40s, 50s, and 60s was kind of slow. And the 70s, not slow, but kind of like it was a progression. But I think there was a change in 1990. And I think, like, you know this, like the way I look at it is I was big into music in like the 80s. And literally I listened to everything from early 80s, listened to like the, the freestyle club music, the TKA and stuff like that. And I was really into hip hop at the time. And I was listening to, Motley Crue and Rat and all those like, glam.
Yeah, I was more into them.
Yeah.
That freestyle, when we're at home and we'll be sitting around playing, Shannon will put White Lines on. White Lines. Josh, I can't stand it, dude.
Yeah.
And then she'll play more, and I'm like, it's the same beat with just different words. Dude. See, now that's what I pictured you listening to growing up. Dude, being in Queens and going clubbing.
But that's not the thing. Not even that. That was we weren't even clubbing. We were out in the street. Like people would have their radios out in the street. Literally, like there was a point in time, like in maybe like the early '80s, where the cool gift would be to get a box, a radio, and listen to tapes. Like Beastie Boys, Licensed to Ill.
Love Beastie Boys.
Huge
Love
tape.
Beastie Boys.
We listen to all sorts of stuff. Like people my neighbor thought they could break dance and stuff. I never could break dance or anything, but I loved the music and the culture. And I knew a lot of friends that wrote graffiti, and stuff like that. And I just loved that culture, I guess. And I liked the movies and and I don't know, and the music. And listen, I'm not saying that I could listen to the music and they're telling stories and I could listen to them like stories. We had a couple of things here and there, like, you could relate to. But, not like, I'm not running around in a gang shooting guns, you know what I mean? But they're cool stories to hear, you know what I mean? So the transition that I'm talking about, though, in music is like all those bands I just mentioned. Now, maybe name like, one or two bands. Like, I don't know when it was, but I just remember listening to the radio and like I was maybe Girls by Motley Crue was on. And all of a sudden, like, hey, here's a new song. And all of a sudden you're down, and Smells Like Teen Spirit came on the fucking radio, dude. I thought my head was going to explode when I heard that song, dude. I was like, what the hell is this? And I saw then Soundgarden and then Pearl Jam.
Yep.
And all these Seattle-based bands were just like coming down and like, we're all from the East Coast. So like, get away with that bullshit, like grunge bullshit. Wait a second, this sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like Eddie Vedder's a rock star and Stone Temple Pilots come around and like Audio Slave and you just name your bands. But that time period of music, and then for me, a lot of people broke my balls and still to this day break their balls. Another band that changed my life musically was when I heard Limp Bizkit for the first time, dude. Now the reason being is say what you want about their corny lyrics or their
it doesn't matter.
Whatever they're doing.
Love Limp Bizkit.
You can put those first two CDs, $3 bill and No Significant Other, are unbelievable because that's a time in my life where like I was like a little pissed off and angry. I don't know what's going on, but that music, you just turn it on full blast and a pack of chainsaw and I'm like. the feeling that just went
Yeah.
through you when you hear that music. And then I saw them in concert, and then I went to Woodstock in 1999, dude. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
When they ripped that down,
bro. When watching, just I could go on and speak about Woodstock. It's another thing that musically changed my life forever, dude. Because just watching like that lineup that night was just. You know, something funny, and I'm sorry, I'm taking up the conversation because we're talking about music. Because Woodstock was so crazy to me, and listen, full disclosure, you know, did some psychedelic drugs or whatever, but I had some fun. But I have this all written down about a time frame of when bands were there. It's like, oh, we saw Limp Bizkit, and then this band came on, and then Korn, and then Rage, and then blah blah blah. And I have this whole thing documented in a notebook. And I recently watched a documentary on that. The bands were not in that order at all.
No.
I have like Korn going on after, and I'm like, but in my head, that's how it was. But it doesn't matter because those bands were really there. But and then Metallica came on, and a storm came in when they were about to play Fade to Black. I was like, this is insane.
Now, did it really come in?
No, it really did. No, I swear to you, it came in as you. No, it wasn't Fade to Black. It was Darkness Imprisoning Me. What's that song? Because
is it one?
One. Dude, because the Metallica was ending the night, and you knew there was a storm in the area because we had just seen Limp Bizkit. This was true. We had just seen Limp Bizkit. We had just seen Korn, Rage Against the Machine, and now out comes Metallica at midnight, and it's like black clouds, you know, and they're playing, they're ripping it up. Master of Puppets are going nuts. I'm like, this is the craziest, best thing I've ever seen in my life. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, you see the wind whipping up a little bit, and then the guy comes on the announcement and says, "We're gonna get a little bit of rain here and wind, guys. Like, you know, the band wants to keep going, though. And they're still rocking out, but you kind of hear in the voice, and you know, and you see Dave Mustaine up there, man. He's just like, and they're like, and, oh my god! And then all of a sudden, the wind starts kicking up. All of a sudden, you hear, and that guitar comes on, and the wind kicks up, bro. It was like a magical experience.
Well, didn't they tear a tower down or something during Limp Bizkit? And
No. Well, they tried to. Dude, I was right there. Fred Durst. I was holding Fred Durst up. But listen, when I was there, like I wasn't the people in the peripheral, dude. I was in the mosh pits.
Yeah.
I was, you know, we went with a good group of people that we watched over each other, and it's like, dude, we were just in the middle of everything, dude. DMX was there, like, you know, like he's like looking out in the crowd, and DMX is like. It's like, holy shit. It's like, I never seen so many crazy white motherfuckers in my entire life. It was like 5 black dudes here. And it's like, and then he just starts going, y'all gonna make me lose my mind. And it was
the crowd went nuts.
That was the craziest concert I've been to. I mean, I've been to a lot of concerts. That was the craziest 3 days. Hottest and craziest 3 days ever. No, the next day was when the Chili Peppers came on. And people were hot. Bro, they were charging $15 for pizza. You know, they were knocking the bathrooms over. It was disgusting. But I was kind of like displaced from my being that weekend anyway. But I got no sleep, and I was just having fun. But you hear all the stories like that happened. I had a really good time, dude. I had not a bad thing happen to me that night. Went to a rave and a hangar, Fatboy Slim. It was like the best music weekend ever. But then you look at these documentaries, like the one that's on Netflix now. Now, if you are somebody that wasn't there, and you watch this documentary, you think, oh, God, it sucked. How did these people have a good time? I had a blast. And I would do it again, man.
I heard one of my friends went and they didn't have a good time.
Yeah.
Because you were probably up front, they were in the back, and they were saying that to get water was almost impossible. There's no real facilities to do anything. So if you were...
just know your body.
Yeah,
that's kind of like what I did at that time in my life. So I was having a lot of fun at that time. Like, you just know your body, like, you know, its limitations. Like, all right, I could just drink water all weekend because I had water in a backpack. I had warm waters in a backpack all weekend.
Right.
Warm water is better for you to drink anyway.
Yes, it is. It's better for your body.
So I was drinking warm waters all week. I was fine. I didn't really need to eat much. You know, if I wanted to eat something, I could think that there's an apple there, and I would eat an apple. You know, it's like that's what, you know. That's what the weekend consisted of. But Josh, the music was just unbelievable. And those are two kind of like transitions in music, you know, back to the transition in music thing, when I heard Nirvana, then I heard that kind of like that hip hop kind of angry music. And I say it like that because I think that kind of music, if you put it in the right context, it can help you get a lot of anger and aggression out, man. It really can, because then you turn around and you're like, wow, you're just too tired to go be mad because you're just going crazy in your own
And
head.
I think music, if you're open to all music, it depends on your mindset at the time and what you want to listen to.
It does.
Like you're not going to listen to country when you're working out. I'm going to listen to Metallica
Right.
or Limp Bizkit or something of that sort.
Right. Now, I went. I said to like, and you as because I know you like music in different types as well. It's like, when did you see a transition in music that you thought that this is better now, as opposed to we just talked about now it's not good. We don't know where it's going.
I don't know. I always liked, like I said, I grew up listening to the radio and whatever was popular at that time, but we were listening to Rat, Poison, Ozzy, Black
Right.
Sabbath, and like I said, what the hell's the Walk Like the Egyptian, the Bangles, you name it.
See Suzanne Hoffman.
She is still hotter than
oh,
wow.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yep. But there was no. I noticed the degradation of music when my boys were younger, and that's why I switched to country.
Okay.
Listened to Hits One, and half the songs being bleeped out because of the swear words, and it's just not
right.
And I was like, you know what? I don't even like the music that's going on right now. I would turn back to like the 70s channel, the 80s channel, the 90s channel, listen to that. Mm-hmm. Nothing was bleeped out.
Right.
And then I just went to country. And it was like, because I didn't want the boys to hear that.
See, I can't ever get away from music. Music is just so like, that whole joke that everybody says, like if you were stranded on a planet and you could have TV or if you could have music, I'd get rid of TV in a second. Like you can watch TV and could be emotional about a TV show, but you can listen to a music or a song, even if you like it or don't like it, but you could pinpoint a time when you heard that song, or you could pinpoint the lyric in a random song that just kind of like just made you figure something out, or even figure yourself out. Like, because you know what? Because I think music, other than TV, is kind of like, that's a guy coming up with those lyrics, or that's even a guy playing the guitar, and that's his feeling, and that's what he's feeling at that time. And I think there's so much more like room for people to express their feelings through music.
100%.
And even people that like, that like to listen to stories, like we talk about hip hop, like, that kid that's kind of like, it sucks. He's a rich kid. He lives in the suburbs. It's not his, his fault. And it's great that he's a rich kid, but it's kind of like, whatever. My life is a little mundane. Let me listen to a Biggie song from the 90s. It's like, wow, that's a cool story. As long as he doesn't go out there and want to kill people.
See, I like the Biggie. I like Tupac. I like those. I'm just not, they all sound the same. And nowadays you can't even understand what they're saying.
You know what it is? With the hip hop and the rap now, Josh, you really got to dig. And I guess, like, for lack of a better term, my son is into hip hop big time. He just loves it. And I like to kind of like, I'm trying to find something, like Drake. It's like I'm trying to find these guys that they're out there, but there was such a plethora of them back in the 90s of like the hip hop guys that everybody was trying to outdo the next person.
Yes, but you're saying a plethora of them, but there was a certain amount. Now, I think there's a dime a dozen of these people that don't make music.
Like, mediocre music.
Like Biggie, Tupac, Fat Joe, all those guys made Cypress Hill.
Yeah, Cypress Hill's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? Just they made music, and it wasn't just talking and rapping. There was music behind it. There was beats. There was a story. There was
right. And what's funny too is like it's funny because I watched a documentary recently on Cypress Hill. You might want to check that out. I think it's on HBO. Cypress Hill was in a conundrum too because they came out in 1990. That's when Cypress Hill came out, the first album, and How I Could Just Kill a Man was the song. Like they went with that, that street How I Could Just Kill a Man type of album, and it was really good. Don't get me wrong, it was amazing, But Be Real said in the interview, he says like at that time, like everybody was doing that street stuff. Everybody was like, I'm hustling this and I'm doing that. He's like, man, he said to Sendog, he goes, man, we're potheads, man. Let's just like kicking it about, what we do in the hood. We smoking blunts and we're hanging out and talking about this. He's like, we kind of fell upon it on accident because, we had the beats and we had the rhymes. He's like, but nobody was really rapping about just having a good time with weed. And they cornered that in the beginning and a lot of people followed them. And they made a successful career out of it.
When you think about bands like that, you think of Cypress Hill.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know any other band that just rapped about weed or getting high.
Yeah, like tell Bill Clinton to go and inhale. It's like, and they talked about, the whole, even in their songs, if you really break it down about how the legality of marijuana is so important in this country. You know what I mean? And they even talking about it like 25 years ago when they were rapping about it. And and that's why, again, back to the message with music. It's like there's so many different messages in music. So it's and that's another thing. Like when you go for talking about the thing of free speech, because I've been saying lately how everybody's talking about all the amendments being trampled on and blah blah blah. It's like if we lose fucking free speech, dude, we're screwed, man. If we lose free speech, all those other amendments are out the window.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you don't like a song on the radio, turn the station.
You don't have to listen
I don't care
to
if
it.
you don't like the lyrics in a song or the way the guy plays.
And here's the thing: I don't care
listen to it.
if you don't like what I'm saying right now.
Yes.
Turn it off. Don't listen again. I'm fine.
Yes.
I'm not telling you have to listen to me.
Right.
I'm allowed to talk, and you're also allowed to not listen.
Yep.
Turn a deaf ear.
Exactly.
But see, music for me transports me back in time.
Okay.
A lot of the music, like the older songs, I remember a certain thing we were doing, or what I was doing when that song came on. And the other thing is, in high school, the music was relationships. You always had a relationship. I don't know. I always did.
Oh, poor me. I was a dork. Whatever. Funny, like this music, like, with the we go to this place called Laces. It was a roller skating rink. And I couldn't roller skate. I put roller skates on and fall my face all the time. So I would sit there and I'd try to play the video games where everybody's out there, that song, I want to know what love is.
Yes! And you would be skating around. Now, here's the funny thing. I couldn't skate backwards, so I had to push my girlfriend around.
Right.
If she couldn't skate backwards.
Right. See,
but that's the thing. That was what it takes. Takes me back to the skating rink. Takes me back to the Friday night dances after the football games.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, just to the roller skating for a second. Yeah, everybody was out there skating with their girls. I was on the side of the thing, trying to fall on my face, and everybody's laughing at me. No one's skating with me. Freckle face Richie playing video games, falling on his face with roller skates. No one's roller skating with me.
You never made a love tape?
Oh my God! Yes, of course I have. Yeah.
All right.
Those tapes back in like the 90s. Where
yes, that was the thing to do. You would sit by the radio until they played that song. Record play.
Yes.
And sometimes you'd get the whole song, or you'd start off with the DJ talking, and it's like, and now, and the other thing is to call in. Yeah, this song's to Shannon from Josh.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah. That's, and that's funny you say that, because I would, like you, I would sit there with my radio that I got for Christmas, and you'd wait there to hit record. I would do that with all kinds of music. But I don't know why, I mean, why I've been meaning it's on a podcast too, but I would sit down late and I would listen to like the love song stations. Shannon, my wife.
You just cry in your pillow?
No, I would not cry, but I was like, I would like
I wish I had a girl song to skate with.
Exactly, I know. It's such a dork. I don't know why I cared so much about that. But the thing is, like, I love these like stupid, silly love songs. Like Shannon makes fun of me. She hates it. Like when a love song will come on the radio, like a Chicago song will come on, or
are you kidding me? I love Chicago. REO Speedwagon.
All that stuff. And Shannon, like, are you serious? Like, and my youngest son, Aiden's kind of like liking those songs too. But it's, I don't know, I'd listen to this love song station and I'd get all like the love songs. And I had tapes of like all like everything, you name it, like The Barge, or like, everything from like The Barge to Chicago to anybody, Kenny Rogers, Lionel Richie, the Commodores. Like, and I'd have all these love songs on tapes. And then I would pick and choose the songs to go put on, and I'd give it to a girl or whatever, and sometimes it would work out and sometimes it wouldn't.
And then you'd be over there playing Pinball Wizard.
Yeah, exactly. That's another question. That didn't start till later on in life.
Yeah?
Playing Pinball Wizard, if you know what I'm saying.
But, oh shit, what was your first album you ever bought? Because back then, or was it a tape?
All right, so no, it was an album. Okay, now
the little ones are 45s, right?
45s. Those are huge in our neighborhood. We would go down to a place called Piano Man on Northern Boulevard, 162nd Street, and buy all the 45s. We buy them all. We buy, like whatever was popular at the time. I remember one of our favorite 45s we ever bought. Me and my friend Eddie, who lives out in California. We loved that song by Taco, Putting on the Ritz.
Oh, great song.
We had the 45, and I remember we played it so much that we couldn't listen to it anymore. But the first thing I remember buying myself or being bought for me?
Either. But, okay. All right. What was it bought for you?
There's two albums that stick out in my life. Is my first album that was bought for me was Kiss Dynasty for my 10th. I think it was my 10th birthday or 11th birthday. My mother bought it for me because I liked Kiss because I had watched that silly. I don't know if you remember that silly movie, the Kiss movie, where they were at the amusement park and they had to fight like the bad Kiss cyborgs. Please, if anybody out there around my age can
if
help.
I didn't see The Godfather, I definitely didn't see it.
And at the end of the movie, it's like the whole thing is like, I remember I used to like Gene Simmons, the demon, like, and at the end they would fight and they'd shoot fire at each other, whatever. But I liked Kiss because of that, because of the stupid movie, and and they would ride on the roller coaster.
Did the 45s have more than 2 or 3 songs on each side?
B-sides.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a full album, like 10 songs.
No, it was 2 songs.
It what, right?
Yeah.
Just 2 songs, one on one side, one on the other?
Yes.
All right.
Like, I think the originator, like, you hear B-sides, like, if you hear, like, if you have the Leonard Skinner album, A and B side. Like,
right.
But I think they started with 45s because the B-side was always another song by that person that you didn't know. You get the New Order 45, or you get the Depeche Mode. There would always be another song on the other side that was obscure, or you really didn't know what it was. Like, my mother bought me, I think, for my 10th birthday, the Kiss Dynasty. My first album I remember ever looking at and wondering what it was John Lennon. And I remember looking at it. It was like 1978, maybe. I was young. And because my mother had all the albums, man. We listened all the time. That's got me into music, like Dion and the Belmonts, and like Elvis, and all sorts of shit like that. But I remember handing it, was like, Mom, what's this? And she goes, oh my God. She told me all about how he was in the Beatles and this, and she put Imagine on for me. And I was like, what a great song, and then listen to the song. And from there going forward, I think that was my first memory of like really thinking of music being relevant. And then from there, like my mother would listen to albums with me. Then I graduated to get into the tapes, and you get the singles, and and I was always fascinated by DJs and scratching and like the mixing. And I was always fascinated by that and the feelings that you get from certain music.
See, my first 45 was Blondie's The Tide Is High.
Good one.
That was for my 10th birthday also.
Wow, okay. And you bought that, or somebody got that for you?
My mother got that for me. I remember the little record player I had it was white, and you could flip up the top and just put it in, but you had to put the thing in the middle I think the 45 had a bigger hole in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, it did. Yeah, you had to get the puck.
Yes, the puck, yes.
Yeah.
Put that down on there, yeah.
Yeah, you had to get the puck to play the 45s.
I think the first one I bought, another 45, was the Cutting Crew. I would die in your arms tonight.
Oh my God! You know what's funny too? It's like you know what? I'm going to ask you to do something in 1 second. I said I was going to ask you to do it in the beginning, but now, like people that are like our age, right? Our parents had record collections, like I guess, and that was the only way to listen to music back then. People would buy records.
My parents didn't really have a big record collection. My sister and I are the ones that got that stereo that had the turntable on the top, and then the radio, and then the 2 CD players. So we had that one.
We had a record player.
See, Shannon's mom has a huge, and like you were saying, all the oldies, the Elvis, the new ones. And every time we go into the house, she's playing a record.
Now, again, I feel like I'm taking this conversation over because I love talking about this music, but like I got heavily into another type of music because of my grandmother. Now, I could tell you Clancy Brothers songs. I could tell you Irish Rovers.
Well, you do know my
the Kingston
mother-in-law.
Trio.
Yes, I know.
But that's the point I'm making is like through records and albums. My grandmother used to live next door to us in Queens, and I listened to the Dion and the Belmonts and like the Elvis and all shit. But then I'd go next door, and my grandmother would be listening to the Irish Rovers and all the old Irish music, and just 2 types of music clashing through records. And like you think about record collections these days, and like, you had to buy all these things. If you liked one Leonard Skinner song,
you had to buy
the album. But that was the beauty of it, though, dude.
But then you started to learn you like the other songs as well. Nowadays, kids they can download one song from someone. You know how many songs I started to like better than normally it was like the number 1 song, the number 5 song, the number 7 songs were like their big songs.
Okay, I never knew that. Okay,
because then they would make it wouldn't be 1, 2, and 3 because then you'd stop listening.
Right.
So they kind of spaced them out, so you had to listen or fast forward.
Right.
Or if one of your buttons was broken, you had to flip it over and fast forward the other side to rewind the other side. Or get your pencil out.
Yo, you want to hear something crazy? I remember listening at my cousin's house. I remember listening to Another One Bites the Dust on 8-track.
Never had an 8-track.
8-track player at my cousin's house. We used to listen. I remember Another One Bites the Dust and Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. We used to listen to those 8-tracks in my cousin's 8-track player. That was 70s. Had to be.
Never had it. Well, I think my grandfather had an 8-track in his car.
No, this is in the house. I remember one car I had. My father had an 8-track player, and it never worked. My father was never into music anyway, but that's crazy, man. Just how it's funny. Like you start mentioning music, and all these different memories start trampling over each other. That's why I'm looking at you like,
yeah.
It's like,
well, that's why I'm excited about the interview Wednesday, because the first one was my buddy Joe, but it was about baseball, and you're more into baseball.
Yeah,
like he's saying names, and I'm sitting there like, okay,
yeah.
The next one was about wrestling. I knew who he was talking about. You didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But you enjoyed the conversation.
Of course, I loved it.
This one, we both love music, and like he played with Offspring and Seether.
Yeah,
all these bands that I want to be like, how were they?
Like,
was it really like what they show on TV when they're following a band in a movie? Is it chaotic, or are you back there drinking tea in between sets?
I want to know. Like, I want to know what it's like. I want to know what it feels like to be able to do that just so perfectly. Like, that's what the shit I want to know. I want to know what it's like to be able to just walk into a room and notice another musician, and the two of you could pick up a guitar and drums and just fucking go crazy at a party. Like, I want to know what it's like to be like that. Like, I know I'm not like that, but at 50 years old, and I will never, ever be like that. Like, I want to know what it's like at 6 years old to know that you're going to sing, or to know that you're going to play the guitar. Like, I want to know what it's like to have those. I want to know what it's like
to be able to do that. Because I remember in college, my sophomore year, I moved into an apartment with a buddy and 2 other guys. Well, the one guy we knew, but he played guitar. And Rich, when I tell you, we'd go out to parties, come back, and he would just sit there, and we'd have the lights off, drinking, and he would just start playing the guitar. And dude, we would sit there for 2-3 hours with just him playing the guitar. It was one of the best things. I would love to be able just to have a shit day, just to go grab a guitar and just.
That reminds me of something. Something last year with Aiden's travel baseball team. We were playing on American Legion travel baseball team, right? It was, we had fun. That's, besides the point. But we were away on this. We were away on this trip, and we had a tournament. I think we were up in Saratoga, and obviously they go there every year and they stay at these cabins or whatever. But Aiden's specific team was up there that year, and the kid that plays first base, I wish I could remember the kid's name, but mediocre baseball player, pretty good ball player, or whatever. The team was pretty good. We did well. Aiden had a kick-ass weekend or whatever. But that night, we go down, we have a barbecue. Now the guy gets burgers, and everybody's hanging out, having a good time. So like midnight rolls around, and all the kids still run around. We're having a good time, and they disappear. This kid comes out, like, this kid's like kind of funny kid, running around like a maniac. He just broke up with his girlfriend. It's like this kid comes out with a guitar and tells everybody to, like, the coach knows what's going to happen. The coach is like, oh, shh. So it was like 40 of us just sitting there, parents and kids, and the kid sitting by a fire, and he just breaks out this acoustic guitar, and he sings this song that he wrote the words, the music, and everything for, about his life. It was one of the most beautiful things I ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
I went up to the kid after. I says, yo, listen. I was like, if this baseball thing doesn't work out for you kids, like, this shit's going to get you laid, dude. Because it was unbelievable the way this kid switched from a goofy kid, playing okay baseball with his teammates. And all of a sudden he breaks out a guitar, and it's like he just switches, and like, this is his thing.
I'm trying to think of the movie. I want to say it's Say Anything, where that one guy would go into the parties and he'd just sit on the steps and just start playing the guitar, and the girls would be around him.
Oh, yeah.
Say Anything? I think it was Say Anything. They always picked on him because he was a goober, but because that's all we did.
No, but I don't. Wasn't that what you called Say Anything? Was with, what's her name?
That was Scott.
It would never be me. It would. There was a girl though, wasn't it? She had the guitar and she would sing the sad songs about her ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
That's actually John Cusack. That's Joan Cusack.
Was it Joan that sang? I thought it was a shorter one that was in Mystic Pizza and all that.
It might have been.
That liked John Cusack, but he liked the rich girl.
Yeah, I don't know, but I remember he saying he had to pick out a guitar and just start singing like these sad songs.
And then one of the great songs, I think it's Euro Trip, where Matt Damon is dating the guy, the main character's girlfriend, but he doesn't know. Did you ever hear the Scotty doesn't know?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh my God. Oh man. But anyway, now that's another question I have for you. Okay. You said, like, what was that like when you were younger, right? You said that you were surrounded by a little bit of music, but like, was there any specific type of music that you say that you, when you were like 5 years old, like, could put you somewhere? Like, or like, I remember this kind of music and I liked it because.
No, not really. It was more when I was older and just listened to the radio. And the other main thing for me back then was movie soundtracks, which I don't think the movies have nowadays.
They don't.
I think a lot of movies back in the day became good or popular because of their soundtrack.
I couldn't agree more.
And then there's the opposite where certain singers got more notoriety because they were on a soundtrack.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Of course.
And that's one thing that I'll do that Shannon's like, it kills me. I'll hear a song and I'll be like, oh, what movie is that from?
Yeah.
And she'll be like, what? I'm like, you don't? She's like, no, I don't know. It's just that's one of those things that stick in my head.
Me and Alex Raybar sat in my backyard, hammered till 3:00 in the morning. About I don't know, a while ago. Sitting down, when we wrote down the top 10 greatest soundtracks of all time, and we listened to them all. We were hammered in my backyard, and we came up with, believe it or not, you're gonna think this is crazy, but Guardians of the Galaxy probably has one of the best soundtracks, on par with Forrest Gump, and the Deer Hunter has a good one too.
Dazed and Confused
has a good one. That was on the list.
That has a great one.
Yeah, but there's so many of them. Like like The Breakfast Club. You know that song,
but I don't know more songs from that. I know that song.
See, I do because again, I was so into music that I would get the soundtrack,
right,
and I would listen to all the songs. I'm going to admit something right now on this podcast that is going to get me murdered. But one of my soundtracks, one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, is My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts, and one of my favorite rom-com movies. And I'm never saying that again. And I will deny.
My
best friend's
my mother-in-law bought me for the first Christmas Shannon and I were dating the Notting Hill soundtrack.
All right, that's 1-1. It's definitely 1-1.
I took some off you there, buddy. But it just made me think of like the other day we're driving. And that's one thing Shannon and I do when we're hanging out with people. We'll do like epic songs. Like you and Alex did that list. Yeah. But there's a time where I was with me, Shannon, Craig, and Christine, and we did an epic songs list. Then I went with Tammy and Chris and Shannon and I. And they're like, no, that's not epic.
Yeah.
This is epic. Then all of us were together and we're like, no, that's not epic. And the drunker you get, you get more songs on.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we were driving up to Binghamton and Shannon's like, I don't know if this is an epic song. I'm like, we didn't all agree.
That's a great thing to talk about, though. Epic songs. It's a great thing to talk about.
Shannon has a list of epic songs.
Yeah.
That she just
some of those epic songs are from bands that only had one epic song, though, which is crazy.
Yes.
When you think about it. Like,
But you were talking about it earlier. We have REO Speedwagon on there. We have Chicago on there.
Yeah.
We have those songs where you're like, where Shannon's like love songs. They were epic songs.
Yeah. This is like, I don't know, the R&B genre with Jodeci ripping those R&B songs at the top of his lungs. Like, you don't know, whatever. But I went to my R&B phase too. It's like, you're right. Epic songs is a good thing to talk about, though. That is.
I'd have to have Shannon send them to me because we said so many.
Is Europe Final Countdown? Is that an epic song?
That has not been in the list. No. I know what I brought up, and only 2 of us out of the 5. No, 2 out of the 5 said yes, but was Metallica's one.
That's epic.
The other one said no.
No, but all right. How about this? How about one of them? How about one of the most epic songs I think of all time? And I'm going to tell you why it's epic. Is Paradise by the Dashboard Lights by
That's on there.
Absolutely.
100% on there.
That's got to be one of the top epic songs of all time. Because in 1995, I don't care what type of music, you could have been a thug that listened to hip hop. You could have been a classic rock guy. It didn't matter what you are. But when that song came on at a bar, you were singing that song at the top of your lungs.
All 10 minutes of it.
100%. I don't care. Again, I don't care who you are either.
Both people's parts also.
See, now I think
girls higher pitched.
See, now I think maybe my curriculum is a little different from an epic song, but I think an epic song is something like that can stop people in their tracks, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a person that likes that song. It just stops people in their tracks, and everybody in the Sweet Caroline to me is an epic song.
Epic song.
That the whole
American Pie.
Yes,
epic song.
Yes, man. But exactly. It's a great topic, man. I like this.
Well, that's the thing. You'll have to come over, Shannon. We'll do our epic songs, and we'll see if they fall in. Because you also have an epic song because it means to you it might be epic.
Yes,
but to other people it might not be.
But that's the thing. You have to try and separate that.
You got to get outside of from your own feelings.
You have to get out. That's why I think there's got to be a criteria, being like, if I think it's epic, do I see other people thinking it's epic too? And like I said, and I use like bars in the '90s as an example for me, because I think at that time was when bars were at a peak for like college kids and stuff like that. I don't think they're like that now. Like going out to a bar, and
it is, but I don't think there's music.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Josh, you remember like
when I worked at a bar, there was a jukebox. If there wasn't a DJ playing, or a band,
cover bands,
the cover bands, the jukebox was playing the entire night.
Yeah.
And Matty was up at he wasn't drinking because he's under 21, but he was at a bar with his buddies. And Shannon's like, "Are they playing American Pie?" He's like, "They're not playing any music." She's like, "Well, go over and play American Pie." He goes, "I'm not going to play music. No one else is playing music."
Aiden loves that song, dude.
Oh,
American Pie.
Matty loves it too, but he's like, "It's not on here." And Shannon's like, "Well, does it have a flip? Flip and see if." And he's like, "Oh, there it is."
Josh, behind you is a brown bag. Can you pass me that brown bag behind you? Just if you look down there, there's chocolate bars in it. No, I'm sorry to put our podcast to a halt for the chocolate bars, but I guess my wife found them and took them away from me because. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. But I think the criteria for like I said, for an epic song, I think it's got to be like everybody thinks it's epic.
Yes, not just you. Like the one I brought up, because I was huge Blues Traveler fan.
Yes,
huge Blues Traveler fan. And in college, I played that CD over and over. And Mountains Win Again, to me, was an epic song. My wife's like, she put it on the playlist and we're driving. She's like, "This isn't an epic song." But you know what? Every time it comes on now, she sings the entire thing. She's like, "This is a good song."
Right.
Tammy Sava, who said it wasn't an epic song, sent me a picture the other day on a text, and she's like, "Look what's playing." And then she's like, "I had it on repeat the whole way to work."
Yeah, because like I said, I don't think there's stuff like that anymore. I don't think there's cover bands, and I don't know, man. And it's fallen by the wayside because, sorry guys, I haven't eaten, but a lot of these DJs too. Most places you go, there's a DJ. There's a guy with a computer, a little mixer, and he's going to play songs. And for the most part, people are sitting there on their phones.
Yes.
And that's so unfortunate because there's so many people to talk to about music. So many people, like, if they're there to see a band, everybody's getting selfies.
Yes. Or sitting there recording it instead of listening it.
Why don't you just sit there and listen? Like, I don't know. Maybe. Do you think music is getting watered down?
I think so, because there's so many different artists, so many different people, and so many different ways to listen to it. And you can get famous just being on an app and have a song.
Well, and that's a good point too, because when you started to be able to stream and download music, I think because when there was an album coming out, remember the anticipation?
Yes.
Of Tuesday, this album drops, or this DJ's new album's coming out, or whatever. It's like you gotta wait till Tuesday, and you can't push a button and download the one song. You gotta wait, go to the place, you gotta buy the CD, you gotta buy the tape, you gotta buy the album, and then you gotta listen to the whole thing. And it's like, it was an experience when you buy something. Now it's like you push a button.
Yep.
Like, oh my God, I heard American Pie 19 times in the last 5 days because it's been in your playlist. And I think maybe even stuff like that gets watered down because you have a classic rock playlist and you have a hip hop playlist and you have this, and then you try combining your playlists, and then the algorithm sets you up to which songs you listen to anyway all the time. Anyway, yes. So there's got to be something like, maybe we're searching for something new too, but we just don't know what it is.
I have been, and I've been doing, instead of doing like top country or this, I'll pick an artist, and then it'll start playing other artists I've never heard of. And it's not the pop country, it's more of the country and the singer-songwriter type of stuff. But then I was listening to Chris Stapleton radio, and all of a sudden Shinedown came on.
Okay.
Love Shinedown. Never really listened to him, but because of Chris Stapleton, they started playing 45 is a great song.
Okay.
It just started to get me into other people, and then I would type in that person's name, or if it was a new artist that I just heard, and it would get me more new artists.
That's a good thing they do, because that's kind of like what they do with the Discovery thing on Spotify. Discoveries.
That's what I was listening to, Spotify, when it did that algorithm and it started to give me new stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty good. That does kind of like open your mind to like different types of music. And
but the top songs, like and this kills me because I don't know if you can do it, but we're sitting around the campfire the one night, and I was like, all right, what are your top 5 songs? And Sava, you know him.
Yeah.
I want to punch him sometimes. He's like, I can't give you 5 songs. I'm like, yeah, you can. He goes, well, what genre? I'm like, top 5 songs. If there's one song that you're like, I want to listen to right now. He goes, well, I'm around the campfire, so I would have to think. I'm like, never mind. Yeah. They couldn't give me 5 songs.
Can you give me 3 songs that if you wanted to hear right now, like I have to hear these songs right now. These are my 3 favorite songs. They're not so your favorite songs, but in your mind right now, these are great songs.
Southern Cross,
okay.
Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Okay.
Sail Away by
okay.
Styx.
Okay.
And Dust in the Wind.
Oh, Dust in the Wind. You know, it's funny you say that. I just pulled that album out, which I was going to ask you to do in a second. Wow, interesting. All right, that's a good one. How's it going? See, me right now, all these things that I have done by the Killers is one of my all-time favorite songs. I can listen to that song 24 hours a day. That song, I could listen to Boiler by Limp Bizkit, and I could listen to Know the Ledge by what do you call it? Eric B. and Rakim from the movie Juice.
Would they be your top 3?
No, at the moment, it's a song that, like I said, I could give you, if I could sit there and list songs, that is kind of hard just because I have so many different types of songs. I could give you at the moment, but I can tell you all these things that I have done is probably, if I can name, that's definitely a top 3 song of all time. That song is definitely in my top songs.
The last one?
All these things that I have done by the Killers. And to give Doug Geraci's band a little promotion, his band does a phenomenal job at that song.
Yeah?
Yeah, amazing. And he plays it every time I'm there because he knows I love that song.
Another song of mine in the top 5 is Landslide by Stevie Nicks.
That's an awesome song. All right, let's talk about this for a second then before we're in about an hour. We asked each other to do something a long time, a couple of weeks ago. We said come up with a list of 10 songs that define you. Or was poignant in your life when you heard that song. It may not be a song that I know or an obscure song. Can you, I think we went over one of our songs already, but can you pick another song from that list that maybe made you see things differently, or maybe was a poignant time in your life? Or like, can you name a song that reminds you of that? Thunderstruck by
AC/DC.
Wow. Okay. Now, why is this?
That is the song during my football years in high school where we won the championships, and every time they do the end of the year video, that would be the song that would come on when we'd like run out.
Okay.
Na, 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 na. Takes me right back to Friday Night Lights.
Wow. That's an interesting one. I feel like I'm going to speak too long on mine now. I'm going to take like 10 minutes. I got a specific song. Like I know I went on my tangent about that Dreaming Tree song last time from Dave Matthews. I actually made you look that song up. That's a good song. But there's one, it's a club song actually, to be honest with you. When I started hitting the club, doing like the techno and the house music clubs. And I told you guys a story about when I bumped into the guy at the tunnel and, he turned around and gave me a hug. He didn't want to fight. He's like, this is great. Whatever. That just set off a whole. But I don't even know what time it was, the mind-altering stuff. And you look up, and Danny Teneglia is my all-time favorite DJ. He's a house music DJ. He's about to be 60 years old, and he's still killing it. So, but he has a song called Be Yourself. Now, it's like an 11-minute song, but it's a girl singing in the background called Salita, black woman Salita. She says, be yourself. Now, I just remember listening to the song, listening to the lyrics and the beat and the music and the lights and looking at everybody. And I'm like, because at that point in your life, like that, there's a point in your life when you're kind of closed-minded, I guess you would say, like where you look at things and you can't believe that other stuff exists. Like you can't believe that stuff exists, because you're a little closed-minded. But being in a place like that is like where everybody got along, whether gay, black, Spanish, girls, it doesn't matter what, transgender, transvestite. It did not matter. In that group, that who you are, like everybody's like, it's like, oh, you go to there's gay people there. It's like they don't want nothing to do with you, dude. They're having a good time. Like
they're
those
there
masculine guys. Yeah. Like, but I remember hearing that song, and it was all about being yourself, no matter what you do, and just dance like no one's watching, and like seeing everybody like doing that, And I'm like, that song and that night in particular completely changed my outlook on life as far as like even a political aspect of life. Just saying like. opened my mind, and I'm like, wow, this is a great world to be in.
Now, question though. I'm not a big DJ type of guy in the house music. And when you say his song, was it his or was it a song that he mixed and for that night, or was it recorded and that became his song?
He made the beats, produced the beats, yes, they're pulled from other musics, but
Right.
But you're not. No, there's people that make beats. There's people that get keyboards.
No, what I'm saying though is
and drum machines.
Have you heard that song other than that night?
No, all the time. No, it's big. It's one
what
of
I'm
his
saying.
biggest songs.
So he has that out. It wasn't just him sitting there mixing music
that
night.
No. That was also the night he rode in on a white horse. That was a crazy night, dude.
Did he really ride in on a white horse?
I straight picture of it.
Or is that what you remember?
Well, yeah, but it really happened because it's picture. But I just remember that night. Being like, hanging out with my friends and, hanging out in the corner, drinking 40s and going to bars and like, just like hanging out like these, like, getting into fights and stuff like that. And I just remember like the transition of going to these places and a 10-year period. And I had got met my wife, Shannon, and she got into it. And it was just a 10-year period there where I would go out and I didn't have to worry about anything. I would be literally out till 1 PM on Sunday with my friends. It was a small little group of us. And everybody had each other's back. There was never any problems, dude. I'm talking about, you'd see big beefed out Guidos and gay dudes and lesbians and Chinese people and straight people and black people. Funny story about this is let's go to this place called Exit. Now, everybody knows Exit in the city. It's this huge club. Now, at that time, the hip hop clubs were kind of like, getting not phased out, but like they were bumped upstairs because the rooms were just packed with people going crazy, dancing, the lights. These places were packed. Now, I remember one night specifically being an Exit, and I was going dancing, this, that, and the other. And I'm going over, and I had to go to the bathroom. I had to pee, so I could drink water. So I've gone off, I'm sweaty. I had my shirt off, and I'm just like, I gotta go somewhere and just be cool. So the hip hop room was upstairs. So I remember I went upstairs to the hip hop room to go to the bathroom. There's nobody up there, just a bunch of like thugs, So and I remember coming back down, I'm standing, I'm catching my breath, and about 4 or 5 guys, they had bottles of like champagne in their hand, and they just come walking down, like talking all tough. And they looked in, it was like 6 AM, right? And they kind of like looked in, I'm like, fix myself, and the guy goes, yo, what's going on in there, man? And I turned around, I looked at him, he's like, yo, man, you don't want to go in there, man. Those white people are crazy. Let's get the fuck out of here. And like these 4 thugs just like laughed, and they did not want any part of 6 AM music, crazy lights, hundreds of people dancing. And it was just, that atmosphere, Josh, is, for me, that is one of the best times of my life musically, and going out and meeting new people. And there wasn't a lot of these people, there was not a bad bone in their body.
Right.
Not a bad bone.
Just out to have a good time.
Just out to have a good time and listen to music. And these DJs preached it too, man. It's like it's like that, like him. It's be yourself. That was his thing. You come to my party, you be yourself. There's no dress code at the door. And you got dressed like with a horse head on this if you want to come into these clubs, When they got to a point where some of these places were getting picky choosy with like who they let in, the boozy, no one went anymore because people wanted that underground feel. And that's like, and that's the clubs that were packed. Josh, I was waiting online to get into a club at 7 AM. To get into a place, calling from somewhere else, of course.
Right.
But showing up to an after-hours party with a line down the street at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, dude. I mean, and that
never experienced that.
It's one of the best. It really is one of the greatest experiences and times I've ever had in my life with music. Even going to concerts, even with Woodstock, seeing Danny Tenaglia at Vinyl, or going down a space in Miami and seeing Oscar G on the terrace, like these and the beats I'm talking about, not just random.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
It's just like it's a crazy feeling, Josh. And again, to our topic with music, what you said before, it's not so much. It's his song because they make the beats. Like they'll take of course they'll take like old like Motown beats, maybe like a DJ looking in that crate.
Motown is who Dave Grohl was saying that he stole a lot of the drums from.
Think about it though. If you're a really good drummer from like the 80s, well, your style comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And anybody that says that all my stuff is original, or anybody that points out at somebody says like you suck because you're not original, everything comes from somewhere, man.
Well, there's a guy I know that a comedian or something. He goes, I can play any music with 4 chords. And he'll sit there and play these chords, and he'll sing like rock and then country and then pop. And he goes, all you need to know is 4 chords.
Yeah. I guess there's got to be some truth there. And it's all how you play them and the feeling and everything. I mean, it's there's so much that goes into it, man. It really is. All right, we got about an hour and 9 in. Anything else you want to cover on our music topic?
What do you mean?
Oh, got about an hour and 9 in. We anything else you want to cover?
I have to let everyone know that.
Thank you. That's what I'm getting at.
I didn't know where you were going. I didn't know if you wanted to do this.
There you go. Good. You picked up on it.
You almost had to write it down on a piece of paper for me.
Well,
But
my partner here, Shooting the Breeze, has some news that he'd like to announce.
I received my retirement papers today. It's been 2.5 years.
Yes.
Of insanity and Monday through Friday being home 8 to 4. I've been injured, 75% loss in my left arm. I'm left-handed, and I'm going to go have someone look at my right wrist now because of using my right hand all the time. Now that's starting to hurt. But officially got my paperwork today. I'm not officially retired until they take me off the payroll where I work. Okay. And then, and it's the scary part, it's nice I'm retired, but now I don't know what I can do yet. I have to speak to my lawyer and be able to see if I can work, I can't work, what I can do. So
I think that me and you should take a zip drive of this podcast right here and go to every single radio station up and down the East Coast, stop at some beaches along the way, drop off some podcasts. And I think we should do this for a living, Josh, and get paid.
100%. But we would be getting divorce papers handed to us.
It'd be fun though, right?
I'm not saying no.
I mean, you stop it off and just stop it off at dingy bars and hey, you know what, a radio station that's hiring any guys? Podcasters.
Just following. And that's the one thing I love. Bars and jukeboxes are fine. But I don't care if it's a shit band. I would rather go to a bar and hear just live music than go and listen to a jukebox.
Yeah, I like the jukebox sometimes. But yeah, I like the live music.
There's just something about it. Even though, I was with my buddies and we went to this brewery, and it was a guy who was in a tuxedo with a guy who was in a tie-dyed shirt playing the piano. The other guy was playing a bass, and then he was playing a cello. The most eclectic 2 people I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And the guy singing didn't sound good, but he was so into it that he made it sound good.
Wow.
Because there were a couple times I'm like, what song is this?
Yeah.
Well, I have no idea. And then he'd be like, oh, I'm like, oh. But just watching him sing made it enjoyable.
You know what, you mentioned something pretty interesting too. You know what I do, however, like about a lot of the kind of, I guess, new music and the new movies? I do like these new bands doing covers of old songs. For instance, I know it's an older song, but in The Departed, somebody did a Comfortably Numb. I forgot who it was. It might have been Black 47 or one of those bands, but they redid Comfortably Numb. Or I heard Simple Man by some random young kid. Did a guitar thing for
I
a
have
movie.
seen that. Yes, I like that.
And it's like you sit there and you're like, wait a second, I know the
I
words.
got to look it up because Stranger Things, they had a remake of a very popular song.
Yeah.
And I heard it and I'm like, and where they brought it in on the show, they're walking into this haunted house.
Yeah.
But this song came on. I'm like, I know that song. And all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
I think that's so cool though, dude, when they do that. I think that's
sometimes it is. Sometimes it's
I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of a good example because I heard a song very recently. And it's you hear a slower version of a song. And I completely forgot. But I think that's pretty interesting what they are doing with the music.
I got it. Yeah. But again, sometimes people are so close-minded because they know the original.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it can't be as good as. They're not trying to be as good as the original because it's the original. They're like, or they'll be like, it doesn't sound like the original.
Yeah.
Well.
Right. And I have a crazy contrast in remakes of songs. And I only know this song because I'm gonna bring my friend Raybo up again. And, you know, he was responsible for getting me into a lot of like the punk that I was into, and like Metallica, like when I was a little kid, like young kid. Like he's responsible for getting me into a lot of the punk music that I would listen to. To this day, I still listen to the Sex Pistols. Now, Sid Vicious does a version of "My Way" by Frank Sinatra that is, to me, I guess maybe again it's nostalgic, I guess, because I think of my friend, but it's a version of "My Way" and it's amazing to me. And it's actually in a dream sequence. And if you ever seen Sid and Nancy, the story of Sid Vicious and Nancy, well, you know, the double suicide or whatever it is, but it's actually in a dream sequence in the movie. And it's just, if you ever get a chance to listen to, you know, "My Way" by Frank Sinatra.
Yes, yes.
Just if you ever get a chance, like Google the song. I'll put it up when the podcast is over. I'm going to let you listen to it. And it's such a sharp contrast in the type of song it is. Like I put it on for my son because my son loves the Frank Sinatra song "My Way," and I put on listen to the Sex Pistols version. Oh my God, Dad, what is this? It's literally just Sid Vicious going "My Way," but it's like the guitar and it's just. And again, it makes me think of my friend too, which is
right. That's why, yes.
You know, and God, Josh, I could talk just about music. You know, we talk about music. We just talked for over an hour about music. Poor Pat's going to be sitting there for like 5 hours, dude.
I can tell you right now, he's going to be. We're going to try to let him talk. Yeah. But
Pat, what's it like for this?
Yes,
but Pat, what's it like with that?
I don't care. What was it like? But yeah, no.
When did you know that you could write songs? And then what does it feel like?
Exactly, yes.
That's the shit I want to know, dude.
What comes first, the lyrics or the music?
Yeah. Like, how do you just put those words together and make them sound good? Like, I can't do that shit.
No. I try.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, though. That's we could be like two little kids. And he's your friend, too, which is crazy. And I don't know him, so.
No, but he'll be great with that. And that's a good thing about it. So
yeah. Maybe I'll have my wife stop by and ask a hair coloring question or something.
There you go. I can't wait to tell him what I thought the first time I saw him. But no, dude, and again, an hour and 16 minutes.
Yeah, man.
You didn't get into your California trip at all?
Yes. I can tell you briefly. You know, I want to talk. You know what? I want to talk.
Let's do it next time.
Let's do it next time because I can tell you. I'll tell you one thing about California. It's like it's everything. Where everybody's San Diego, beautiful. Hollywood, disgusting, dirty. Beverly Hills, nice. You know, the Hollywood Hills, beautiful. But California is a very liberal state. And listen, to a point where, like I said, if me and you ever really got down to a point where we talked about real politics, I guarantee there's a lot of shit that me and you would kind of disagree with. Because
yes.
I do have some, not liberal views, but lefter views on certain things that would fit in perfectly.
Dude, I grew up.
But it's so beautiful that, I don't know, man, I just got sucked in. The politics, I would just have to put in the back of my head. But I guess I would have to have a lot of money. California was beautiful. The people were nice. The food did not eat at a bad restaurant there. My buddy, one of my best friends, AJ Hamill, is my boy, my world traveler, my guy, my best friend, Jack's godfather. He's coming up for the other podcast I'm going to be doing in a couple of days. Right. But he's coming up for that. And he turned me on to that Musso and Frank's restaurant I was telling you about. I went to, you know what Musso and Frank's is? Musso and Frank's is the oldest restaurant in Hollywood. It's one of those, you know, mahogany entranceways. The waiters have like the red velvet jackets on.
Is it real dark in there?
Dark, but it's like a very popular restaurant. You have to get reservations to get there. So he called, you know, he's talking to me on the phone and he's like making us reservations. So he's like, oh, we had a reservation. So food was phenomenal. And he's like, how was it? But he definitely turned us on to that. But this place, Josh, the food was amazing. I mean, it's been around. Jack asked what, like, there's like a post out front. And Jack's like, what's that thing on the waiter who's been there for 25 years? And he was like kind of like the low man of the totem pole. And said that's where guys like Charlie Chaplin and them used to pull up on their horses and tie their horses up. It's like it's the oldest restaurant in Hollywood. It's like the people that have been there, the pictures on the wall. And the guy, when you walk in, the guy that owns, I don't know if he was the owner or the person that seated you, he would just sit very quiet. How you doing? Very nice to meet you. This is so-and-so. Very soft-spoken, nice guy. Two guys out front making sure people get out of cabs okay. Like you walk past this place in the afternoon and you're walking down Hollywood Boulevard. It's disgusting. Homeless people all over the place. There's trash everywhere. There's people booting heroin on the corner. Hollywood's not, you know, we stayed in a nice hotel.
Right.
And we did and listen, if you're gonna go to Hollywood with the family, it is kind of a nice place to explore. But take the tours. Don't be too humble to say, "I'm a New Yorker. I'm not gonna take."
I'm not gonna be
Get on those tour buses. Buy those off-on passes to take the buses because they'll tell you a whole bunch of shit. The tour buses will tell you a whole bunch of shit. They'll tell you where this one lives. Went by Quentin Tarantino's house. And listen, whatever. I'm a tourist. I don't care where the guy lives, but it's kind of cool to see when Quentin Tarantino lives right on Mulholland Boulevard. Bro. It's amazing. But that part of it was cool. But our whole Hollywood Boulevard was disgusting. There's homeless people everywhere, drug addicts everywhere.
I thought California got nicer as you went south of LA.
South.
Huntington Beach is beautiful. San Diego. It's like
Josh.
Everyone talks about LA like that's California. I wasn't a fan of LA.
Josh, we pulled up. We took an Uber actually from. If you ever go to California, don't rent a car, dude. We didn't rent the car. We were gonna rent a car, but we're like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll go to the airport. From an Uber. That was fine. We did the tour buses all day. We needed no car. We were in Hollywood, and then we were gonna rent a car, and something happened or whatever. Then we could have gotten it, but like, see how much just to get an Uber. Car to rent a car for 5 days was $500 and something, $250 Uber from LA to San Diego.
It's not bad at all.
It's fantastic. And I don't know if I'm not going to tell the guy's name, but it was going to be like $300. It's going to be like $300 something. And he kind of like turned his thing off and said, listen, I'll do it for $250 cash. This guy's only going to give me like $100.
Right.
I helped the guy. Not Venmo. I Zelled him $300, gave him a tip. He got us right down to San Diego. Got us down in good time. And then San Diego, you don't need a car either. You drive a trolley, you walk, bike, everything. But as a whole, my trip to California was unbelievable. It was much needed. Me, Shannon, and the boys. It was just us. Right. And we had so much fun. It's you know what, Josh? And I know you have the same relationship with your boys, so I know I'm not telling somebody who doesn't know how this feels, but you can just go on vacation with them. Like right now, they're sitting in the other room right now. I guarantee when all this thing is over, I know Jack has school, but they're watching TV together. Like we spend a lot of time together, and it's like, and we're on vacation in this beautiful place. There's girls everywhere, and my boys just the four of us are eating dinner. The four of us are in the room together. The four of us are riding bikes together. The four of us are going to the beach together. It was so nice to just the four of us there's nobody else there. Sometimes we have all the family members come, friends, whatever. Yes. The whole vacation was just the four of us, dude. And again, I know you know how that feels.
Yep.
And like that's what made it really special, to be honest with you. It was really cool. So
all right, we have to get into it next time. But I just found it. Separate Ways by Journey.
Yes.
So they you got to look that up. We'll watch it after we're done.
Yeah.
But dude, it was like, I know that song. I actually like this version better than Journey's version.
You know what? Maybe we'll do that in a random Shooting the Breeze, Shooting the Breeze episode. We'll look at something to talk about our music motif. Let's get them up a list of songs that sound better than the original.
All right.
Really?
That's my homework.
I'm going to put a list of 10 songs
into my homework right now.
Better than the original. We'll talk about that. It's probably going to listen. Music we could talk about forever. So, as a matter of fact, never mind. Hour and 22. That's about good. We did a good music thing. We got Pat coming up on
Wednesday, 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Now, one thing we do have to mention, we're doing a little transition with the channels here and stuff, okay? The name of our channel is going to be Keep Talking 365. Keep Talking in. Keep Talking without the G.
No G.
Guys out there in Pennsylvania, if you guys are listening or you're going to listen, I'm from Queens. I dropped the G on everything. So it's Keep Talking 365. That's going to be our podcast channel. Now, there's going to be 2 shows affiliated with the podcast channel. That is going to be the Murph and E-Dub show where we do our sports show. And Josh, you're going to be getting involved with that side of it with something we'll be doing soon. And then our thing here with Josh and I, we're doing the Shooting the Breeze. Now, Shooting the Breeze is going to be there. That's going to be our channel. So you're going to search our channel, and then you're going to look for your show. If you're the sports guy, you want to go there. If you're the Shooting the Breeze guy and you want to listen to us talk, that kind of like brings it together a little bit better, like when you search for one thing.
Yes, and that was much easier because I did it today.
Yeah.
And it popped right up, and it's also the name you can search on YouTube also.
Now, the YouTube channel, there's only a couple of videos up there right now, just because I don't have time right now. And Josh, I'm going to give you like the login information too, because you're going to start posting stuff too. That is where we're going to start videoing our interviews too, I think. We're going to figure that out. So that is where you're going to find a lot of our commercials. That you're going to find out. All of our interviews are going to be on there. All of our like relevant stuff, like the show is going to pop up there, here and there, but YouTube is going to be used for like promotion, and it's going to be used for like our interviews, like stuff that we really want to do like a good job with, and not get crazy, zany or whatever. But So when you go to the YouTube channel, make sure at the bottom of every video there's a subscribe button. You hit the subscribe button.
Hit subscribe and like.
Yes.
And then you'll get notified anytime something goes on.
Yes. And last but not least, I want to say this last because that Teague Moore, if he's going to listen to the show, I really, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank him because he did a great interview with us. He said he'd come back on. He said he'd talk to us. We had a great interview with him. But me personally, because I'm talking my perspective here, as far as like with you and Eric and stuff like that. Me personally, I've been trying to start this journey. I just want people to hear what we have to say. And I want people to have dialogue. And all the people, he got us almost 1,000 views, listens, whatever you want to, however you want to, from both of our channels and our things, combined almost 1,000 people listened to that interview, dude. And I want to thank him because he's a very popular guy, dude. And he liked it the way we did our interview. And I think somebody like him saying, wow, this is a pretty good show. And I think we do a good job with that, Josh, with the real talk.
Yeah, it's like we always say, it's a conversation on an interview.
Yeah.
We're not bringing him on, just ask him questions, and us ask him questions, him answer. We want to hear your story, and then we'll ask something based on that. Right. I think that's what he liked the most is because he's so used to sports reporters just asking, so, blah, blah, blah. And they already know the answer. Right. But they just ask. He finally got to tell his story the way he wanted to tell it without having to answer 1,000 questions.
And speaking of that, I revamped our Joey Caruso interview too, and I put the right one out. And I think I said that to Joey in the beginning of the interview because watching interviews with him was all baseball guys saying, "Well, remember when he did this, that, this, and the other thing?" And then he was just like, "All right, what do I got to talk about that?"
Right.
So I think, and again, a little promotion for our show. It's like I don't know if it's going to hinder people from talking to us or not, but our interviews and shows, everybody's like, well, maybe you should break it down to 20 minutes, or maybe you can't find anything out about somebody in 20 minutes. We're going to do an hour and a half. We're going to do an hour. We're going to do 2 hours. We're going to do 30 minutes, whatever it takes to get to the point of what someone's trying to get out of us. Well, we're going to really talk to you. We're not going to ask you generic questions.
Right. And the thing is, when you're having a conversation, you can't just say it's going to be an hour conversation.
No, you can't.
Because both Teague and Joey, we had to stop at an hour and 55 minutes because we can only go 2 hours here, correct? Right. Yes. So we had to stop them. They were so engrossed that they could have kept going.
Josh, with this new thing that we're doing here, we don't have to even go live anymore. I could plug this into an Audacity thing. We could talk to somebody for 5 hours, dude. We can level out the voice and put it out as just like this. Right. So literally, look, I don't know, maybe people didn't really see whatever. Like, even if we were just recording this, we put it out the same way. Right. I'm figuring out new ways to get our stuff out better. But we can talk to somebody for 5 hours, dude. We really can. Right. Like this podcast I'm doing in 2 nights, it's going to be 4 of us sitting around. We may talk for 5 hours. You know what I mean? So it's...
Right. I see what you're saying. So if it's live, but I think sometimes with some of the interviews, you kind of want live so people are listening and also can ask questions on the talk. Right. Because I don't think we're ever going to do, unless the guy says let people call in. Because you don't know what someone's going to say.
No, you really don't want call-ins. You really don't want call-ins, especially when, you just want the good conversation to flow. If somebody calls in, he's in the middle of saying like, "Yeah," and then I went 13 for 24 in the college baseball World Series. Well, I got a question about that. Like, what color was your hair at that time? Like, wait a second. It's like,
do you remember who you dated in high school?
Yeah. What? So anyway, Josh. That being said, man, we're gonna wrap this up at about an hour and a half, guys. Spotify, Apple, Google, Podchaser. This is going to be out as a podcast in about 30 minutes, guys. Get the word out. Our YouTube channels, Keep Talking 365. Drop the G. That's IN. Keep Talking 365. That's also going to be the name of our channel where you're going to find Shootin the Breeze and the Murph and E. Dub Show. I'm going to have myself a little secret show on April 20th in about 2 days that neither... Josh or E-Dubs are going to be a part of. But I'm going to let a select few know about that. And if you want to know about it, you guys know where to find me. You can email. But I'm going to be doing a little bit of a special show on April 20th. Hint, hint. So, guys, thanks a lot for listening. And thanks for the support, Josh. I love doing this with you, dude.
100%. It's been too long since we sat down to talk. And the other way you can reach us is keeptalking365@gmail.com.
Yep, and that's a great way for it. We'll get back to you definitely on that. So.
And if anyone is looking for an ex-police officer to hire as a job, you can email us there also.
Fantastic. That's gonna be we're gonna get Josh a job. Mall security, Josh. We'll get you mall security.
Can I have one of those things like mall cop?
Absolutely. All right, guys, this is Shootin the Breeze, and we're out of here.
Later.